Welcome to another deep dive with us. This time, we are exploring 50 journal prompts designed specifically for women.
For women?
Yeah. It comes from a blog post from LeStallion, that company that's famous for their beautiful journals.
Okay, yeah.
But these prompts, though, they're targeted towards women. They really cover, like, a lot of, like, fundamental, you know, self-discovery, relationships, personal growth, self-care,
Mm-hmm.
all those good things, dreaming big.
Right.
So they could really apply to anyone who is trying to kind of dive a little deeper into themselves. And luckily, we have an expert here who's fantastic at extracting deeper meaning and making these prompts work for your personal journey.
Well, thank you. I think the interesting thing about them is that even though they're targeted towards women, they really do tap into just that universal desire we have to better ourselves and understand ourselves.
Yes.
And they give us a structured way to examine those deeper parts of ourselves. I think that's great.
Yeah. And I think the blog post does a really good job of breaking them down into 5 core categories.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got exploring self-discovery,
Okay.
nurturing relationships, embracing personal growth, cultivating self-care, and dreaming big.
Okay.
And so let's start off with exploring self-discovery.
Yeah.
And one prompt that stood out to me right away was, write about a recent experience where you learned something new about yourself.
Uh-huh.
And it seems so simple, but I'm wondering, do people often overlook those everyday moments where they're actually growing as a person?
Oh, for sure. We always want to focus on the big moments, the big defining moments in our lives. But honestly, true growth happens in the small moments, just subtle shifts in perspective or, how we think about something.
Right.
And journaling gives us the space to actually capture those moments.
Yes.
To really examine how we're changing.
Yeah. And how those little tiny experiences are actually shaping who you're becoming.
Exactly.
Like becoming attuned to your own inner world. Now, another prompt that I was really interested in this exploring self-discovery is, describe a time when you felt truly confident and empowered.
Ooh.
Don't you wish we could all bottle up those moments and just revisit them?
That's the thing. It's not just reliving it, but like what made you feel that way?
Yeah.
What were the choices you made? Who were you with? When you understand the elements that create confidence, you can create more of it.
I love that. So it's not about chasing this like elusive feeling,
Yeah.
but it's about understanding the ingredients that created that feeling.
Exactly.
So you can recreate it.
Sometimes those ingredients are hidden under all this self-doubt or, limiting beliefs. And journaling is a great way to get that all out on the page.
Yeah.
Challenge those negative thoughts and replace them with positive ones.
Yes. It's like creating a more empowering internal dialogue.
Exactly.
Now, speaking of dialogue, let's move on to the next section. That's nurturing relationships. Relationships are so complex, and they can be really hard to navigate. So how can journaling help us with that, especially when we're talking about the hard parts of relationships?
I think journaling can really give us that space to, sometimes we just need to vent.
Yeah.
But then there's that prompt, think about a challenging conversation you recently had. It allows you to look at it from a different perspective, from the other person's point of view, and maybe come up with some solutions.
So it's not just venting, it's about gaining a little more clarity.
Right.
And understanding.
And journaling can also help us appreciate the good things in our relationships. Like there's that one prompt, write about a time when you felt truly supported by someone. I think this is so important because it allows us to identify what healthy support looks and feels like,
It's about understanding what you need to feel supported.
Yeah, right.
And cultivating gratitude.
Right.
For the people that you do have in your life.
Exactly. And that self-awareness is essential, to communicate your needs effectively and set boundaries, healthy boundaries.
Yes. And this is just scratching the surface of these prompts.
I know there's so much here.
There's so much. I'm really excited to get into embracing personal growth, but we're going to do that in part 2 of our deep dive into 50 journal prompts for women.
Welcome back to our deep dive into these 50 journal prompts.
Yes, and before the break, we were about to get into embracing personal growth. And there's one here that I think is particularly interesting. Write about a lesson you've learned from a recent setback. It seems like it would be counterintuitive to focus on the negative, like a setback.
Right.
But I think there's so much to be learned from those experiences.
It's like it reframes those setbacks into opportunities for growth.
Yes.
Instead of just dwelling on those negative emotions, it makes you look at it objectively. What did you learn from it? How can you apply that to the next challenge?
So it's about building resilience.
Exactly.
And developing that growth mindset.
Setbacks are just a part of life.
Right.
And it's really how we respond to those challenges that defines us.
Another prompt that I really liked in this section is, Think about a time when you took a big risk. I'm curious, how important is risk-taking when it comes to personal growth?
I mean, risk-taking can be scary,
Yeah.
but it's also where we often discover our true potential.
Yeah.
You know, stepping outside your comfort zone, even in small ways, can lead to amazing breakthroughs.
It's about pushing your own boundaries
Right.
and your own limitations and seeing what's possible.
And sometimes those risks lead to failures.
Right.
But, as we were talking about earlier, failures can be really valuable learning experiences.
Yeah, it's all part of the journey.
Absolutely. And speaking of journeys, we can't forget about self-care.
Yes, that's the next category.
It's so important.
Cultivating self-care. And I have to say, sometimes I'm really bad at this.
Yeah.
Like I put it on the back burner. What are some unconventional ways that journaling can actually help with self-care?
Well, I'm glad you asked that because self-care isn't just, bubble baths and face masks, although those are great.
Right.
But it's about really understanding your needs
Mhm.
and creating practices that really nourish, your mind, body, and soul. And there's this one prompt that I like. Describe a day when you focus solely on self-care. What did you do and how did it impact your mood, your energy, and your overall well-being? And I think that's a great way to sort of create a blueprint for a day that's truly rejuvenating.
I love that idea, to actually plan out a day of self-care.
And it doesn't have to be something extravagant or expensive. It could be just spending time in nature or listening to your favorite music or, engaging in a hobby that you love. But it's about being intentional and noticing how even small acts of self-care can really impact our well-being.
Yeah, it's about making yourself a priority.
Exactly. And sometimes, self-care is also about setting boundaries in relationships.
Yes.
Saying no to things that drain your energy, making choices that align with your values.
That's such a good point. Because self-care can sometimes feel selfish, but it's not. It's
Yeah.
really about taking care of yourself so that you can show up
Exactly.
as your best self.
As your best self in all areas of your life.
Okay, so speaking of showing up as our best selves,
Yeah.
let's move on to that final category.
Yes.
Dreaming big.
Dreaming big. So exciting.
I love this section. It's all about reigniting that sense of possibility and giving yourself permission to dream without limits.
Yes.
And one that I really liked was, write about your biggest dream. What would it look like to achieve it? And how would it impact your life and the lives of those around you? It's an invitation to just let your imagination run wild.
And when you write it down, it becomes more tangible.
Yes.
You go from these fleeting thoughts into, oh, I could actually make this happen.
There's another one in this section that I think is so powerful, especially for anybody who has ever put their dreams on hold for whatever reason. And it says, think about a dream you've put on hold. What held you back? And how can you reignite that passion to pursue it now? Like we all have those things that we've kind of put on the back burner. We're like, oh, someday I'll do that.
It's so easy to let fear or, just life get in the way of our dreams.
Yeah.
But this prompt really forces us to think about, okay, what's holding me back?
Yeah.
What are those obstacles? And how can I overcome them?
It's a reminder that it's never too late to
Exactly.
chase those dreams.
Exactly. And that's the beauty of these journal prompts. They encourage us to explore, not just who we are, but who we want to become in all areas of our lives.
I love that. This has been such a great discussion, and I am definitely feeling inspired to start journaling again. What I'm really getting from this is that journaling can be so much more than just writing down your feelings. It can be a really powerful tool for self-reflection, for setting intentions, processing those challenging emotions, and really creating a life that feels more authentic.
Absolutely. And the most important thing is to show up authentically, be honest with yourself, and just enjoy the process.
So grab a journal, pick a prompt that resonates with you, and just see where it takes you. You might be really surprised by what you discover.
I agree. Happy journaling, everyone.
Welcome back to our deep dive. And, we could spend so much time on each of these prompts,
Yeah.
but I want to circle back to dreaming big.
Yes.
We talked about reigniting passions, but what about defining success? Like defining it for ourselves on our own terms.
Oh, that's so important. And there's a prompt for that. Describe what success means to you. How has your definition of success evolved over time, and what does it look like for your future? It's like you said, it encourages us to challenge those expectations that society puts on us
Yes.
and define success in a way that feels good for us.
Yes. And create a vision for the future that aligns with our own values,
Yeah.
our own aspirations, not chasing somebody else's definition of success.
Right. And once you have that vision, you have to think about how to make it happen. So there's another prompt. Write about a goal you're currently working towards. How does it align with your long-term vision, and what steps are you taking to make it a reality?
It's like creating a roadmap
Exactly.
instead of just hoping that your dreams will magically come true.
Right. And that roadmap might involve setting smaller goals that lead up to that big vision
Yeah.
and celebrating those wins along the way.
Yes. Keep you motivated.
Yes.
Keep you moving forward. There's one last prompt in this category that I wanted to touch on. I think it's so powerful. Think about how you want to feel 5 years from now. What goals or dreams will help you create that feeling in your life? And I love that because it shifts the focus from those external achievements to how you actually feel inside.
Right. It's about connecting with your core desires. What do you really want? And using those feelings as a guide to make choices and take actions that lead you there.
It's like reverse engineering your own happiness.
Exactly. And that's what I love about these prompts. They encourage us to think about who we are, but who we want to become, and create a life that is aligned with that.
I feel like we've done a pretty good deep dive into these 50 journal prompts for women, but
Right.
I think these really do apply to anybody. A
Absolutely.
man or woman who's looking for self-discovery and personal growth.
I completely agree. And these prompts are just a starting point. Like, feel free to adapt them to your own life and see where they take you.
The biggest takeaway for me, I think, is that journaling can be so much more than just writing down your thoughts. It can be a tool to reflect on things, set intentions, process your emotions, and really design a life that feels authentic to you.
It really can. And the most important thing is be honest with yourself and have fun with it.
So grab journal, pick a prompt, and see where it takes you.
Happy journaling, everyone.
That's it for this deep dive. We'll see you next time.